Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. My name is Agnes van Rhijn, and I'm a holistic business mentor to professional women who want to reach their full potential in life and in business, but without giving up who they are and what's important to them. I'm also the founder and the host of the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. And today it's my privilege to be interviewing Edna Keep. Edna is a multi-millionaire who is living in $1 million home and who is financially free. She does what she loves to do daily, which is to inspire and coach others to financial freedom. Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, Edna. How are you?
I'm doing very well, and yes, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Very welcome. So I like that in this little introduction, I only gave the results of a journey.
Yeah.
And so obviously I know a little more about you, but the listeners and the viewers don't. So tell us more about you.
Okay, well, I'm from a large family. I've got 6 brothers and 1 sister. And I actually always loved coming from a large family because I always had somebody around. I'm very social. I like to be around people all the time. And pretty normal childhood. I ended up, though, having a child at age 16. So I was a single mom at age 16, which kind of severely limited my choices in life. Like I didn't really want to go to university, didn't have the want to, also didn't really have the funds. Was just happy to get out of grade 12 and start working. I always thought that I would be married young and have maybe 6 kids myself.
Oh.
But after having one, it was very difficult being a single mom. And so I kind of gave up on that. And I just decided that I was going to become a career woman. I always enjoyed working. And I did enjoy being a mom, but what I didn't like about it was the financial constraints all the time. I lived in low-income housing, actually qualified for low-income subsidized daycare too. I always worked, but had some subsidies to keep things going. I didn't like being in that position.
And so what made you... What gave you the drive to step out of that situation?
Well, for a long time I didn't. I had kept being told over and over by family and friends, you got a good job. I don't know what you expect. I was working at a doctor's office, not earning much more than minimum wage, but I had weekends off, which was supposed to be a big thing. And that's all I heard was like, you're doing pretty good. You just have to learn to live within your means.
Oh, that's a terrible one.
Oh, I hated that one. I didn't want that. So after listening to that for quite a few years, I said, no, you know what? I'm tired of trying to live within my means. That's not me. I want to live abundantly. And so I started searching for what I could do. I was never more than a C student in school. And in younger grades I was, because I really enjoyed learning. But in high school, it was like, I was more interested in socializing and having fun. And so I never paid that much attention to studies. It wasn't important to me to have high points or grades. I just wanted to pass. So again, that probably limited some of my choices. But I started working, and after about 8 years at this doctor's office, I was bored to tears and didn't know what else to do. So I just started doing some correspondence courses on the side. And I took a secretarial course, and then I took an accounting course, and I eventually actually got a job in the big city, which was about 3 hours away from my hometown. And started moving up a bit from there. And still not great jobs, like they were just kind of getting by jobs, that sort of thing. And then I did get a job as a office administrator at a power line construction company, and I ended up with a really good boss that was open to, teaching me, letting me make mistakes. He really liked me, and so he allowed me to do stuff maybe, and it didn't have that, thumb down, you can't do anything atmosphere. It was more, you can do whatever, whatever you want to do. And it was a really great atmosphere to grow in. So I did stay there for 8 years and then got bored again, and actually ended up studying to be a financial advisor. And that was my first foray into actually earning decent money. So as a full-time employee, I'd made $43,000 a year at where I was working, and everybody in my life said, "Oh, you got such a good job. They're so good to you. Why would you even want to leave?" And I said, "Well, I just think I can do more, And again, I was limited. I was at the highest position I could be in the office. The only other position was a power lineman, and I wasn't going to do that. So I studied, got my financial advisory, became a certified financial planner. And a few years later, I went full-time into that. I went from earning $60,000 that year to earning $187,000 the second year full-time. So it was like, okay, now I know what to do. I know what it takes to, start earning the kind of income I've been wanting to earn. Because for years, my goal was to make $100,000 a year. And so when I almost like doubled that, or actually I'd almost tripled it from what I was making the year before, it was like, okay, I figured this thing out. Let's go to town. So that was a big, big time for me.
Edna, if we rewind a little bit, because what I find interesting in what you're describing also is that, so you did not have a clear vision as you moved forward in the years at the beginning, and even more than that at the beginning. However, you did feel the need to learn. So you did follow, from what I understand, quite a few courses. So how did you juggle that with having a baby, or meanwhile she probably was older than a baby, and having a job? Because that's also quite often something that women in particular will see as a no-goer. I can't because I have all these things to do. So how did you manage that?
Well, when I was really young and still living in the hometown that my parents lived in, my parents helped a lot with my daughters. They took her just about every weekend. And so I would get some chance to study and take the courses on the weekends and stuff. And then when I moved to the city and it was just her and I, well, she was older by then. She was about 12 years old.
Yeah.
I was 28, and so I started, going to an evening class and a Saturday morning class. And she was fine with that. She was okay to be left by herself. I was always home by 9 or 10. And then I just started taking it from there. And then the company that I worked for, actually, at one point about, I think it was about 6 years after working with them, because that's when I started the financial services, I cut back to 4 hours a week with them so I could use the extra day to work on the financial planning stuff and the learning. And you know what? If my work was done at work, they didn't care if I studied at work, which was really powerful for me. And I know very few people get that chance.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. But they were awesome. Like, they basically said, as long as you're, doing your work, getting your work done, if you want to use your time to study, like, absolutely. And so I did. And then my boss just said, just make sure and let me know. Give me lots of notice when it's time for you to leave, because I know you're going to be leaving. and he was so awesome, too, because it was scary for me to leave a full-time position and go into straight commission sales. And I still remember when he took me out for lunch the day before I left, and he said, you will always have a position with this company if you want one, because he said, you're fabulous to work with. He says, if I could have all my guys with your work ethic and attitude, he said, I'd trade them in any day. But he said, so just know, if things don't work out, I always would make a position for you. So that really took a lot of pressure off me, and made me feel like,
so in a way you were taking a risk, but at the same time with the impression that if it wouldn't work, you would know where to go back to.
I could go back.
Yeah.
And I never had to, of course. It was so nice. I did really well at it. enjoyed it for many years. And then that's actually, I was working there when I met my husband, because I'd never ever got married. And I was 36 years old when I met him. And it was the first year I just went full-time into my business. And he actually, I met him through my daughter, who was working at his place. He was a truck driver, and she was the receptionist at the trucking place. And I'd sent a flyer over to work to tell her to share it with her people at work. And he ended up making an appointment with me, and that's how we ended up getting together.
How funny.
It is funny, you know. And then now we have 2 girls together, and we've been married for 16 years and been together like 20. So it's been a long time. And in that time, you know, I was at financial advisory from 92. I started part-time, went full-time in 96. And in 2007, the markets weren't doing that good. And I got tired of all the ups and downs and dealing with the clients. It really bothered me that some clients who felt like they were going to retire now weren't able to because the markets had dropped. And also my income was always affected if the market dropped, because people didn't buy and all that sort of thing. So my husband and I started thinking maybe we'd want to buy a rental property. And we decided to take some classes in the real estate world. And we signed up for a bunch of classes, and in 2 years, we were doing so well at real estate that I actually sold my financial planning practice and went full-time into real estate.
So now it's full-time real estate, what you do, in fact.
Yeah. And so my specialty turned out to be, and again, it wasn't really planned, but people kept saying to me, because we were able to grow a portfolio really, really fast. We had set a goal that we would have 50 doors, which would give us about $5,000 a month in passive income. We'd set that goal for 5 years because we were still going to work our other work. And in 18 months, we hit that goal. So it really kind of inspired me to think how much better I could do in that field. And I still was a financial advisor at heart, and I still do. I advise people all the time. But now, instead of it being wrapped around mutual funds, it's wrapped around real estate. And so that's actually how we grew our portfolio so fast, because I started dealing with investor money, attracting investors to the real estate deals. And we had a really good market in Saskatchewan at that time. And then from there, that's kind of how my coaching program started, because people just kept asking me, how did you do that? How did you do that? How did you build it so fast? And without doing all the day-to-day stuff, because I have partners that do all the day-to-day management stuff. I'm kind of considered the money partner. And so that's how my program started, and how I started teaching people to do what we've done.
And so if we look at, so I suppose you continue your real estate business also, but are you working full-time as a coach now or how are you doing that?
Well, we still have our real estate portfolio, and we're still growing it. But now any smaller deals that come to me, I pass them on to my students and I help them buy them. And we're more focusing on the larger deals that come our way. And then, of course, some of my students, as they expand and grow themselves, they get a chance to even partner up with us in some of the larger deals, which is really, really nice. You know, because I know they're trained right. They're the kind of partners I want to have.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, makes sense.
And I'm teaching them how to raise capital and how to bring in other investors and how to help other people live a lifestyle of freedom as well. Because, you know, 90% of the people in the world who are millionaires have got to be that way through real estate. And
I hear it a lot.
Yeah, and then the rest hold their wealth in real estate. So there's a lot of opportunity there.
So I'm getting conscious of time, Edna. If we look back at your journey, if you wanted to give some tips to other women who would want to actually, either reinvent themselves or follow a dream or whatever, what would you say to them?
Well, the very first thing I would say is don't take advice from people who are not doing what you want to do. Your parents love you. There's no doubt about that. But if they're not financially free, and you want to be financially free, they're not your best source of advice. So you know what, I've used coaches since 99. I've always had a coach since 99, since I was first introduced to coaching. And it's absolutely made a huge difference for me. So, and the people that I choose to learn from are always people who are in a better spot than I am. You know, in something, you know, maybe it's more spiritual, maybe it's more better parents, or like there's all kinds of, but I go for the ones I want to be like. Not, I don't take advice from somebody who's doing something that I would never want to do. You know, so that would be my biggest piece of advice. Look for mentors, coaches, training from people of what you want to do. And if you don't know, then you know what, listening to your show is a perfect place to start, because you're interviewing all kinds of people from all walks of life, and it can give them a good idea of what's even out there. So if you don't know, just start, do something. Because if you wait for things to be perfect, you know what?
Oh my God, absolutely.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, like I said, just start, because you'll never know what that step is way out there if you think you can start it from here and figure it all out. You got to start moving towards it, and then course correct. You know, I thought I would like that, but I don't. I'm going to try this, going to try that, you know. And I feel that everything I've ever done in my life, from having a child at really young, to searching for my financial freedom myself, has brought me to this place now where I can contribute real value to the world, teaching them what I did, because I'm just an ordinary person. I never had really high marks in school. I was never the leader type who everybody looked up to. And yet I've done it. And so I say to people, you know what, it doesn't matter what your background is. You get to start over starting today. If you want to do something different, just start studying what you want to do and go for it.
What I like also in what you have been describing about your journey, which by the way really is a parallel with what I've been experiencing as well, is that at the beginning you didn't know what you wanted. But you were just taking the opportunities as the journey was unfolding. And I love this metaphor. I don't remember who said it, but it's like, you know, when you're driving a car at night, well, you just trust that the lights of your car will bring you where you have to go, but you don't see further than the lights that they are shedding on the road. You don't know what the next step necessarily will be, but as it unfolds, you end up arriving where you want to be. So very interesting. And the fact of taking action as well, because there are so many people who are just paralyzed by fear, which is where the over-preparing comes from most of the time.
It is, yes.
So yeah, taking action is
recommend. One book I'd recommend for anybody who has that fear and they're paralyzed by it is Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh yeah, that's a very good one.
There's a part in there, and I took that course. I took a 12-week course that was offered here. And there was one part where it was all about worrying. You know, you're worrying, and it said, go to a spot in your mind and think about what's the absolute worst case that could happen out of this scenario. And then go there and sit there for a while and realize that the worst is probably never going to happen. And even if it did, you can build back up from there. You know, so that's one thing that I'm always thinking in my mind. What's the worst that could happen? And I've went there. I went, okay, so I go back to living in low-income housing. And you know what? I've learned enough that even if I lost every cent today, I'd have it all back in 2 years, because I know now what to do. Yeah. I know what to do. And I know quicker ways to make money. I know the people to get around, that sort of thing. And I have a belief in myself that even if somebody took it all away, you know, like sometimes, and it happens, you know, there's a war and people who are wealthy in other countries end up coming to our country with nothing. Yeah. And they build an amazing business. You know, they can't even speak the language. And you know what, I just know I could be one of those people if anything happens. So that was a good exercise for me to go through, go back to just having nothing and think, what would be the worst case scenario?
Well, I did it.
Exactly, you did. And look at you now. Look at you now. You're thriving and happy. I can just see the glow in your face now. You're absolutely doing what you love to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's such a difference, right?
Completely.
And only 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why I say it's never too late to step into the driver's seat of your life. Never.
No, never too late. Absolutely.
Edna, tell us where people can find you.
My website is ednakeep.com. It's really easy, and I do Facebook Lives every Monday and Friday mornings, and I'm actually in the process of writing a new book. But if you want to hear anything more about me or connect with me, reach out to me at ednakeep.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Edna. This really was very nice. I love those stories of people who have been building themselves up, and we show that it is absolutely possible. Excellent. Excellent. So for the viewers and the listeners, if you too want to reinvent your life, if you too want to step into the driver's seat of your life or follow a dream, whether you already know where you want to end or not, you can find out on my website how I can help you do so, and book a complimentary discovery consultation with me. So the website is www.agnesvanrijn.com, and that is ANYESVANRHIJN.com. A little more complicated than EdnaKeep.com. Thank you so much, everyone. See you in the next interview. Bye.